Hey, this is Amir Abdullah, running back from the Detroit Lions, and you listen to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome into the show. I have good news for everybody.
Yes! Chocolate chip cookies?
No, I didn't bring any chocolate chip cookies. My beard is nearly back.
How is that good news for everyone?
Well, just my powers. My powers are nearly...
Face Samson?
Face Samson is... Normal intro to the show. Welcome into the podcast. The Fantasy Footballers back for Tuesday, April 11th, 2017. Excited to be back with everybody. Hopefully you're having a good day, whatever you're doing right now, driving to work, working out.
I love Michael
Keaton. Weird. Jason's here, as you can tell.
Yes, I am.
Mike is here.
Yes, I am.
Brooks is here.
Hey.
And I am here. But Brooks isn't going to talk anymore, probably. What do you think?
Good answer.
If I'm allowed.
Not allowed.
He said if I'm allowed.
If I'm permitted.
Of course, Brooks. Everyone loves Brooks.
Yeah, a little too much, to be honest with you.
Well, what people don't realize is that Brooks is actually in a cage right now.
We could be the first show to put our producer in a cage. That'd be special. We have a good show for you today. We have a ton of off-season questions we'll be answering on the podcast today. Have a great quick question regarding Redskins wide receivers. We're going to get into a discussion about them. I have kind of a question that comes out of some of the news today regarding off-season injury reports. So I want to get these guys' takes on how much they read into players being injured or recovering from injury in the off-season and how they view them right now in their ADP. So we'll talk about that. Want to invite you to check out the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Our community is jointhefoot.com. You can get a lot of perks over there for supporting the show. On the website, by the way, there's a new article, a fantasy football do's and don'ts article by Corey Evans.
Delightful.
Yeah, we have we make an effort to put some kind of like introduction and general tips and tricks kind of articles up there. Not every article is a film breakdown of Adrian Peterson, but we do some educational type of articles. So those of you that are new to the sport, breaking in, maybe you just want to compare notes, we have those on there. And a new reception perception article is up from Matt Harmon this week as well. So lots to check out over on the website. Little bit of news for our Foot Clan listeners. We have a live stream that has been announced for Thursday, April 27th. Jason is pointing at me.
Fantastic. I love those. They're a lot of fun.
Was that it?
That was the whole kit and caboodle. I'm very excited for the next live stream.
All right, quick question of the day, guys. Brooks put a poll up on Twitter, and he asked this question. He said, which Redskins wide receiver would you most want in PPR leagues at their current ADP, okay? And so the three he put up there were Terrelle Pryor, Jamison Crowder, and Josh Doctson. Terrelle Pryor is going in the back of the 5th round. Jamison Crowder is going in the back of the 7th round. Josh Doctson's going in the back of the 10th round. I didn't realize that the question was directly pointed at PPR leagues. For me, the answer is pretty easy. I'm actually taking Jamison Crowder at that ADP in a PPR league. It does change for me in standard. I would take Terrelle Pryor in a standard.
Yeah, it's funny because the three of these guys, so with their ADP, right? So back of the 5th, Terrelle Pryor, huge upside, but you're paying for it.
It's built into
in the 5th round. You are assuming that good things are going to happen for Terrelle Pryor. Meanwhile, back of the 7th, PPR certainly helps Jamison Crowder, but to me, the touchdowns last year were a bit of an outlier, and he actually has, while he's great, it's like the Jarvis Landry situation. It just feels like there's a cap on what Jamison Crowder can actually do.
Do you think that there's a possibility, though, that he hasn't had enough years in the league, and with Garcon and Deshaun Jackson leaving, this might be an opportunity for us to find out if that cap exists or doesn't exist?
It's a possibility, but I think he will remain in where he was, running from the slot. And if you look at Jordan Reed's usage at least at the beginning of the year, Jamison Crowder was getting a lot of work, red zone, close to the goal that generally goes through Jordan Reed. And there was an interview with Jay Gruden, people were asking about his offense. What are you going to do now that Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon are gone? And he's like, well, we're going to be fine. He's like, the offense runs through Jordan Reed. So Gruden knows and verbally confirms that Jordan Reed is the centerpiece of the offense. But I got it kind of off track here. But so Crowder, I think, has a cap there. And then you have Josh Doctson, who is unknown but free and huge upside. So it's like almost like the opposite of Terrelle Pryor for me. I
would never touch Josh Doctson in this situation.
In the 10th round?
Not compared to those other two. No way.
If I could only have one of those, if this was like a keeper league and you're taking your pick, I think that both Terrelle Pryor and Jamison Crowder, they have known values coming in.
Yeah, Josh Doctson could have no value for the whole year. I mean, he could be it's ironic because, I mean, Doctson and Treadwell last year were looked at as these, potential first-year superstars. They could both flame out. I mean, we don't know what Dockson's situation is going to end up as.
To be fair, Doctson was hurt,
right?
Which he still is recovering.
That's the issue I currently have with him is he's still getting over this Achilles injury, which is just lasted forever.
Right.
And when I hear beat writers talking right now, they're still saying he's not ready, and that's just kind of surprising.
And then you have Terrelle Pryor, who, yes, he's a known value, but is he? To me, he's not a known value. I mean, we have 1 year of him playing the wide receiver. You can look at his game splits of when Corey Coleman was on the field, so he had another viable target at the wide receiver position, and his numbers are significantly down as far as fantasy production. So to me, Terrelle Pryor is not a known commodity. But so I'm with Andy. If this is a PPR, I would take Crowder, but I would be interested in taking Doctson at the back of the team.
And for the record, I am Crowder in both formats. Crowder right now in half point is my number 18 wide receiver.
All right, let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
For those looking forward, we will have a tight end show. We'll get into Jordan Reed and all the other tight ends on Thursday, so we'll have our early tight end rankings. We'll get into quarterback rankings next week as well. And if you haven't listened to some of our previous episodes, we just went through the running backs and the wide receivers, our early rankings. Those shows, we got into the weeds about a bunch of guys, some debates, some discussion. You'll want to check those out. I'm looking forward to Thursday. I have Jordan Reed moved up significantly. He is my number 2 as a little,
it's not a problem with that.
Little reveal. So I want to talk about the Patriots' backfield. There have been numerous reports, and by the way, I don't want to talk a long time about it because I want to get into the mailbag and answering some questions. But you have Mike, who's very excited about Rex Burkhead, and I am too, signed with New England. Opportunity there, been a very good running back in limited work in Cincinnati. Jim McBride came out on the bus from the Boston Globe, talked about the Patriots, expected to re-sign LeGarrette Blount, that they've offered him a deal. LeGarrette Blount has had no other offers from anywhere else, despite 18 touchdowns and the trials of being a running back in the NFL. And then this report comes out about Marshawn Lynch privately expressing interest to play for the Patriots if talks break off with the Raiders. How worried are you, Mike, that New England will add another piece to the running game and kind of nerf the upside of Burkhead? Because if Blount went back to New England, you have to be massively reducing your excitement for Burkhead.
Yes. I'm not massively, but I would say greatly disappointed because I think if they bring Blount back, I think Deion Lewis is gone. To me, if they add a piece, they're going to subtract a piece. Basically, that's how I think it would happen.
Are you saying his value is gone, or that you think they're going to
he's
actually
saying the player,
get rid of him?
Yeah, he's saying the player will be gone.
Yes.
Because they would have James White, Burkhead, Blount, and Lewis on the roster. It's possible they would keep that, but not likely.
It's certainly possible. I mean, Burkhead has all been just hope and dreams and speculation to this point. We have no idea.
Like most of your picks.
Well, sure. Except my guy's in the NFL on a team right now.
All right.
So, And
I said I'm not getting into Marshawn. I'm just giving the news. I'm not getting into it.
Because the Marshawn news is a little weird now?
No, literally because I don't want to take up more of our time talking Marshawn.
But so the thing for the Patriots is it was reported he was given an offer right when the offseason started, and I believe this was Jeff Howe, the same reporter who talked about Marshawn Lynch whispering to the bushes that he'd go to the Patriots. But Jeff Howe has said LeGarrette Blount will not take that offer that the Patriots have given to him. That offer's not going up anytime soon. So it sounds like everything is up to LeGarrette Blount if he wants to just eat it and take that low contract.
Yeah, if I have to project, I think LeGarrette Blount is going to sign that contract, and it's going to be late after some offseason workouts that he may skip.
All right, I want to ask this question.
They might pull it by then, though.
Jason.
Yep.
Couple reports came out this week. Keenan Allen says he's at 85% health in his recovery from the ACL. Carlos Hyde said he is not quite back to full health. He tore an MCL at the end of the year. Josh Doctson, we just talked about the fact he's not at full health. Every report on Josh Doctson says even when he gets close to it, he's going to be eased back slowly. How much do you read into these reports in the offseason? Does it give you concern? I can remember last year a lot of the talk was Jordy Nelson recovering from the ACL. He got injured almost the same time Keenan Allen got injured this past year, namely at the beginning of the season. Does it lower your expectations? Does it make you feel like these guys could be of value as long as you're not counting on them in the first couple games, or do you just ignore it completely?
I don't think you can ignore it completely. However, I do think that you need to not overreact to any of these pieces of news. You just need to take it in and look at it holistically, because you have Keenan Allen, is running full sprints. He says he's at 85%. The percentages are always, they crack me up.
Right.
It's, you're making up an arbitrary number. But he still looks like he's going to be ready on time. So that's good. With Carlos Hyde, you need to realize there's a new coach in town, wants to get the running game going. If he is not ready for camp, coming up to the NFL draft, maybe that makes a difference. I think right now what you do as a fantasy player is you pay attention to all of these news reports, and you bring, as far as injuries, and you bring those into like a little mental bucket, and then you don't do anything. I'm not moving anybody up, anybody down. Last year you have both examples. You have the Jamal Charles examples of him working out in workout videos, looking great. He's going to be back, and then he was gone for the whole year. And then you have the Jimmy Grahams where it's like, he's going to be back and he's going to be ready, even though the timeline he shouldn't be. And then
so you have both examples.
Right. So what I'm saying is you're not going to be able to know the body. You just have to keep a mental bucket of everything that is happening and all the reports of, are they actually participating? And I think that's the main thing is, are they practicing? Are they in the OTAs? Are they in training camp?
Do you factor these reports into your risk aversion, though? If you have guys, all three of the names I just named are injury-prone players. I mean, Carlos Hyde has played, I think, 34 of 48 potential games in his career. Keenan Allen obviously has had a couple of injuries, and Josh Doctson was banged up. So are those guys that you put them in that bucket? Are they in the risk aversion, avoidance bucket?
They're certainly, I in our docs and our ultimate draft kit, I've got my risk ratings for all three of these guys, and all three of those are much higher numbers. Yeah. And that's where Josh Doctson is probably a little bit, who cares if I'm taking a risk if he's in the 10th round? But Carlos Hyde, depending on where he's drafted, that's costing me quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes down to injuries, you're weighing your own, and risk is the right word, risk reward for that player. Do you feel like that player has provided enough discount at the draft because of the injury for the upside that you can get with that player? But with all those examples Jason ran through, you won't know. It's impossible to know about these players because in last offseason, those examples were perfect. Jamal Charles, he had convinced me that he was going to be good to go, that he would be back. Meanwhile, Jimmy Graham had an injury that almost no one returns from when you tear your patella tendon. It just doesn't happen. We saw it, and we had an example of it with Victor Cruz, a much smaller person who feels like he would be able to recover from it quicker. But he took almost, what was it, like a year and a half off. Meanwhile, Jimmy Graham is back. So it's – I feel like it's like you have to just kind of make that decision for yourself of, guys, I'm going all in.
You're willing to take
You're
the
pushing
risk.
your chips all forward and saying, I'm just going to take that guy.
I realized this morning before the show that you love some of these players that are traditionally
some of these
Jordan
guys I do.
Reed,
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, as two examples, players that Carlos Hyde have been banged up.
Right.
Is it because we should call you like the ambulance chaser at this point? I mean, you are Amir Abdullah.
He's the fantasy hitman. I mean, he's already got the perfect
That's
nickname.
true. Yeah.
And for me, it's because when they're on the field, it's huge production.
You can't help but multiply those numbers out over 16 games.
Yeah.
You
And
can
then
win championships
You get big old eyes.
both ways. Mike, you've won championships with
Yes.
those high potential, high risk players. I've won championships with the opposite approach. Be who you are.
All right, Mike. Before we get into the mailbag, which, by the way, I'm excited about. We haven't answered questions on the show for a few episodes now with the rankings episodes. Before we do that, talk about Pristine Auction. What have you seen over there lately? You got Tevin Coleman on the wall.
Who? Tevin Coleman. Look, we want to thank Pristine Auction. They're helping us keep the lights on, sponsoring today's show. Footclan, I am telling you, Pristine Auction is the best sports memorabilia website of all time. It is the greatest of all time. If you have not checked it out, you are doing a disservice to yourself because you need to jump on there. They have daily auctions. They have weekly auctions. They have something for everyone. And I'm talking with the new players, right? David Johnson. There's a signed David Johnson on here. You like the vintage? I was scrolling through here just seeing the inventory for today's daily auction. You can get on this today. A signed Dan Marino jersey. I mean, whoever you can think of.
I was just going to tell you need to get another Dolphin up on our wall. I saw we have a Pristine Auction Jay Ajayi jersey in the other room, so I want that up there.
I can probably make that happen. But
We know a place.
It's spectacular. The prices are great. The signatures are always 100% guaranteed authentic. Check it out, pristineauction.com. That's PRISTINE auction.com. When you make a completely free account, there's no gimmicks. You make this free account so you can peruse what they have. When you do that, let them know the fantasy footballers sent you.
All right, Mike, you got them pipes. You got them pipes warmed up.
Mailbag.
Oh, it's like music to my ears. Music to my ears. If you have a question for the show, head over to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click on the questions button, or you can dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. Please keep your voicemail questions short so we can put them up on the show. If they're like 3 or 4 minutes long, we can't do that. We'll just delete them. No.
Sorry.
No, we'll listen to them, but we won't be able to answer them on the show. So keep them brief and to the point, and we'll try to answer your questions, get your team ready for 2017. This first question comes in from Manoa Martin in Irvine, California.
Moana?
No, Manoa.
Oh, sorry, Manoa. Sorry.
AJ Green question says, hello, footballers. Love the show. Helped me get a title last year. Do you think the diminished offensive line in Cincinnati will hurt the value of AJ Green or Tyler Eifert? Is there any analysis on the correlation between offensive line play and receiver productivity? I love this question because I was just saying to both of you yesterday, I think it's been massively overblown when you think about Andy Dalton, AJ Green, Tyler Eifert. I love Tyler Eifert, just for the record. I love him this year. His fantasy points per target is better than Gronkowski since 2015.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? He's one of those upside guys. He's one of the guys that, the hitman has taken out a couple times. But if he stays healthy, love Eifert. Red zone potential's through the roof. I love A.J. Green. How can you not love A.J. Green? If this team cannot run block the way it did last year or has in the past, it doesn't hurt Andy Dalton, in my opinion. I mean, you have a lot of examples of teams, Matthew Stafford, Blake Bortles, teams that have struggled to run the ball. The numbers are there for the quarterback. So I am personally looking at this as an opportunity to get value on those players if somebody else is overreacting to them. That's just my take.
Yeah, I'm not going to emphasize the loss for the passing game. It hurts the running game to me far more than the passing game. I think there is A.J. Green and Andy Dalton have enough of a connection, enough of a history to know how to handle getting the ball out quick if that's what they have to do. So I have not moved A.J. Green down because of it, and I have not moved Eifert. We're going to talk about Eifert in the tight end show, but he has some surprising numbers.
I think there's an opportunity, too. I mean, the draft hasn't happened, so this offensive line could be solidified through the draft. I know they've added some pieces. I know they've lost some pieces, but I'm not too intimidated by it.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best year to improve the offensive line in the draft. But one of the things that people forget, you look at the pieces that the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line has lost, and you go, whoa, that's crazy. But the Bengals organization, they had a plan for this. They were planning to lose some of these pieces and had guys behind the scenes that they had previously drafted who are now stepping up. So
disappointing.
Obviously, I think that their line takes a step back, but I don't think it is as drastic as they didn't just lose people and they're not going to have people filling in those spots. It's like when you make a trade.
There's no left tackle today, fellas.
Yeah, it's like when you make a 2-for-1 trade, you get to pick someone up off of the waiver wire. So they're still going to have an offensive line, and the rapport between Dalton and A.J. Green, that's safe. I don't worry 1 ounce there. Maybe, if you had someone new to the team that was playing the outside on deeper routes, that would hurt. But even there, you've got LaFell in his second year. I think the passing game will be all right.
Jacob in California says, should I trade Ty Montgomery in a 4th round and a 9th round for Kelvin Benjamin and a 4th round and a 4th round 3rd pick? That is a really confusing question.
I get it. Basically, he's trading they're 2 4th rounders. It's the 3rd pick in the 4th round or the 9th pick in the 4th round.
I got 409. 409 or okay. 4. Oh, okay, I'm with you. Ty Montgomery in the 409 for Kelvin Benjamin in the 403.
I would
it's a half-point league.
Yeah.
I would definitely do this. I value Kelvin Benjamin ahead of Ty Montgomery anyways.
Yes.
I know a lot of people hate Kelvin Benjamin.
Yes, I do. But I would still take him.
Yeah.
Right. I actually believe a little bit more than you do on Kelvin Benjamin. I've got him having a decent season this next year. But Ty Montgomery, even though running backs, I value running backs higher, I just still don't believe that they're going to come into the season with just him and Christian Michael. But even if they do, I don't know that his value is to running backs what Kelvin's could be to wide receivers, and then you're moving up in the 4th round in addition.
To boot.
Yeah. I would rather have a higher pick in the 4th round than a lower pick in the 4th round. That's my take.
Really?
Yeah.
Brandon.
That's bold.
Brandon in Columbus,
hot fire.
Ohio. Half-point per reception, 12-team Dynasty League. What running back could I get for Brandin Cooks in a straight-up trade?
Love these questions.
I have no idea. Why don't you just tell me the running back you want to get?
When I say I love these questions, I mean because it allows us to help you think about fantasy football more strategically, because these questions are impossible to answer. You cannot ever – I can't tell you who to get because I don't know the other teams, the other rosters, the other makeup. If you've listened for a while, you've heard us say this before. But what you need to do is you need to go find a team that has running backs aplenty and wide receiver holes. If you're wanting to trade a wide receiver for a running back, you have to find the right team to be a partner with. Then look at their running backs and say who. You can't just take the whole entire league.
Yeah, and I guess we could help further by kind of giving Brandin Cooks his dynasty value to this. This listener.
I am not Brandin Cooks isn't my favorite wide receiver, but he has moved probably down, slightly if we're talking for redraft. However, we've talked about this on the show that there is a possibility that this is a longer-term plan for the Patriots, that Brandin Cooks could be that heir apparent to Julian Edelman's slot role for the Patriots. And if Tom Brady is going to play till he's 55, like he says he is.
I believe it.
55. Then Brandin Cooks is going to be incredibly valuable, and I'm not personally looking to trade Brandin Cooks right now because I think his value is only about to go up.
No, I mean, to answer your question straight up, if this is Dynasty, you better be getting one of the best running backs in the league because Brandin Cooks is a great young receiver with good hands.
There are those that, because of the trade, look at Brandin Cooks with, excessive optimism, and that is something you could take advantage of with one. You package them together. Maybe you can go get, like Jason said, one of the big 3 running backs in a package. Probably not straight up.
Julian Edelman, the year he came out, he had the fastest short shuttle of any position, even though he was coming in as a quarterback. I believe the fastest short shuttle in Brandin Cooks' year was Brandin Cooks. And if there's someone who's going to be able to take advantage of the hands and the short shuttle physical attributes, it's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
How's your short shuttle?
It is long. My short shuttle is the long shuttle.
the long shuttle. All right, here's a question from David in Seattle. Are trading draft picks worth it in any size of league? Can you suggest some ways trading a high draft pick for a lower would be better?
Certainly. In trading draft picks it's fun, and it can be advantageous to how you want to run your strategy. But let's just say this. So you have a higher pick. I don't know if we're talking about redraft or if we're talking about a rookie draft here, but so I guess we can quickly analyze it from both. But so if you're in the rookie draft right now, okay, you have to we always talk about tier-based drafting. Drafting?
I was going to say, giraffing?
Yeah.
Tier-based giraffing. You have the short giraffes, and you got the really tall giraffes.
The long necks. They get the good plants.
Just keep falling down the hill, Mike.
But that just brings up the Louis C.K. on Saturday Night Live this
on the
last
giraffe.
week.
My wife.
All right, we're falling off the rails.
So look, there is a much larger top tier than usual in Dynasty. I mean, for some it's 6, for some it's 7 picks, where if you looked at last year, the perceived value was 3 or 4. So, I mean, you have an extra couple spots. So if you're in pick 103, 104, you can afford to move down a couple spots and acquire maybe a 2 for next year. Maybe you're good luck and you get a 1 for next year just to move down a couple spots, but still maintaining a higher tier guy. And it's the same thing for redraft. Maybe you can move back while still staying in that upper tier of players. Funny enough, I was talking about the 6. Right now in redraft, there's the big 6 of the 3 running backs and then Julio, Beckham, and Brown. And there's even more guys who are real close to that tier. So moving back to acquire more high picks is, I think it's a positive thing to do if you can make it happen.
I agree. You look at the tiers and you move within that tier to add more ammunition elsewhere. But really, if there's a trade expert among us, it would be Andrew Holloway.
I'm sitting here just thinking about value-based giraffing versus tier-based giraffing.
Have you ever fed the giraffes at the zoo?
I can't say that I have.
Oh,
I have video of my children doing it.
It's very fun. They're delightful creatures.
Their tongue wraps around their whole hand, like in a spiral.
It's weird.
Has anybody ever ridden one?
I want to see that video.
I don't understand why there's discriminatory. I mean, like if you ride horses,
they're so high.
I don't think
how do you get on?
And their legs, man. Can they support a 200-pound human?
What if you fall?
You're dead.
You're dead.
We need to look into this.
I'm already on it.
Giraffe analysis.
You're already Googling. Mike in Philadelphia has a question about a dynasty trade. Should I trade away Devonta Freeman for Terrelle Pryor and Josh Gordon in a dynasty league?
Ooh.
No.
No,
I wouldn't do that. I mean, unless you are just stacked to the brim at running back. I mean, Devonta Freeman's likely going to get a contract this offseason before camp. I think he is a great, people who want to kind of shuffle him away in their minds and say Tevin Coleman is just going to take over that backfield. It's not going to happen. Devonta Freeman is a great player. He's a key cog to that offense, and he's going to get paid, and he's going to stay there. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So I've actually looked to trade for Devonta Freeman.
Yeah, I have as well.
As opposed to trading him away.
There are very few surefire top running backs. There's a handful, and Devonta Freeman is one of those. So while I would trade Ty Montgomery for Kelvin Benjamin before, that's because you never know on those middle tier running backs what's happening. But if you've got one of those top guys,
I mean,
hold them.
Yeah, there's a world where Terrelle Pryor and Josh Gordon end up is a better situation for your team than Devonta Freeman does. But Terrelle Pryor's not 22 years old either. He's 27, so you're not buying – a potential 10-year starter at the position.
And Josh Gordon, it could be absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's still not reinstated.
Did you guys see his, I think it was his Snapchat.
Oh, no.
Did you guys hear this?
No.
Oh, come on.
No, he did a snap the other day.
Is it a good snap or a bad snap?
He took the Cleveland Browns uniform and he threw it in the garbage. So if he's tweeting that out,
I wish my microphone was thumping right now,
snapping that
banging
out,
my head
as
on
the
it.
kids say.
Come on, man.
I would say that the Cleveland Browns probably will not be the team.
Is that one of the top strategies to get back in the NFL is to disparage
It's
the
just
team
unnecessary.
Are you serious?
Save it. Save it. Do it in the privacy of your home.
Gosh,
just,
dang it.
But two things real quick. Here's what a situation for Atlanta when you're talking about the long-term value of Devonta Freeman. He's coming into the contract year. I think almost all expect him to get a nice contract from the Atlanta Falcons. What has been so great for that team is they've had Freeman and Coleman. I mean, I guess really just last year.
On the cheaps.
Super cheap.
Yeah.
Super duper cheap. However, Tevin Coleman has 2 years left on his contract. If they give Freeman a nice fat contract, a fair market value contract, I should say, for him, there's no
Coleman
way
shipping out.
There's no way they can keep Coleman.
Yeah.
For a fair market contract, assuming everything continues forward.
Remember when Michael Turner was behind LT in San Diego? You could ride that for as long as the contracts let you do it, and then the backup had to go make a splash somewhere else.
So I have a kind of a follow-up question. I can't remember the name of the person. I apologize. But they were asking me on Twitter. They have taken over an orphan dynasty team. It's pretty bad. They're trying to rebuild, and they were offered for Devonta, they would trade away Devonta Freeman, and they would get the 108 and the 112.
No way.
Yeah, I said no. I'm going to need much
close for me.
I'm going to need much higher than the 108. But then it turned into a possibility of those two picks plus DeMarco Murray. Where are you on that? Because I mean, clearly Murray has
I would do that.
Great value right now, but there's not very much long-term value for
Yeah,
Murray.
I would. I mean, that changes it significantly. I would definitely consider that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh, man.
You might be able
I
to
don't
then
know if I
flip
can-
because what you can do then is there's going to be a team, in the hunt.
Pushing
if you're
for a win.
rebuilding, and you can then flip DeMarco Murray for something great,
All right, I love
possible.
this. I love this next question from Michael Thomas
Michael Thomas.
in Edinburgh, Scotland.
What? Bonjour.
How come Martellus Bennett is so low on your current tight end projections, given that he will be the #1 tight end in Green Bay? He had a great season last year! Exclamation point.
Did.
Richard Rodgers was a tight end 1 just a few years ago. But that happened when Jordy Nelson was out. Outside of that, Aaron Rodgers, would
And
we
he had
agree?
50% of his production on one play.
Yes. Would we agree that Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback?
Yes.
Would we agree that he is a great fantasy quarterback?
I would.
Would we say that, he had Jermichael Finley? He's had some weapons before.
That 1 year with Finley was great.
No, Jermichael Finley has been 5 different times the leading tight end for fantasy for the Green Bay Packers in the Aaron Rodgers era. I didn't realize that. 5 seasons he was their number one.
For Green
tight
Bay,
end.
he was their tight
Yes.
end one? Okay. How many of those years was he a fantasy
There's a
tight
lot
end?
of sarcasm in this answer here.
Well, no, the point is that in all of the years, you had Jermichael Finley as a tight end 1 once, and you had Richard Rodgers as a tight end 1 once. Most of the years, they're not really used. And while I do think
Bennett's going to have some big weeks. He's
Exactly.
going to have big weeks.
Well, I do think Bennett will be all right. He's not going to be a weekly starter that you could count on. When Richard Rodgers was a tight end 1, you weren't plugging and playing him week in and week out. He throws to the wide receivers.
So and
I have him for 7 touchdowns and 600 yards, which I think is a good season, but that
Sure.
puts him at 17 in my rankings.
And the deal is, last year, Green Bay threw tight ends for Green Bay accounted for under 16% of the team's total receptions, and that's just how they play. Aaron Rodgers goes 3-4 wide, and he throws to wide receivers.
Yeah, and we've seen a long history, as Jason outlined there. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next question here. It's an Ingram question from Jason in Las Vegas.
Oh, my buddy.
Yeah, all Jasons know each other. Does Ingram drop in your rankings if the Saints pick up AP?
No, he goes up. Yeah, yes. If for some reason Adrian Peterson went to the Saints, Ingram would necessarily have to drop. I would say that Ingram will drop if they were to draft Joe Mixon or bring in any other high-profile running back. He will drop a little bit for me.
Do you think Ingram's going to drop is my question. Now,
No,
are they going to sign somebody or draft somebody and give you reason to question Ingram's stranglehold on that backfield?
I think they will bring in another running back through the draft, but unless it's Joe Mixon, I don't think they're spending any high capital on offense. Their high draft capital is going to their defense, in which case Ingram should be safe. I expect Ingram will not drop in my rankings.
All right, Derek in St. Paul, Minnesota has a question. He says, how important is it to get young guys in dynasty leagues? I feel like most young, unproven players are just too risky to give up older veterans who produce. It's a good question.
Yeah, you want to have at least a handful of young guys on your team because you don't want to run into a situation where you're running with veterans who have 1 or 2 years left of high production.
Can I use you guys as a sounding board for our dynasty league right now?
Of course you can.
I'm sure you'll love to hear this, but here's a question that I struggle with a lot. Like, I'd love to go trade for Jordy Nelson. I adore Jordy Nelson this year.
Yes.
I think he's going to be great. I also know that Jordy Nelson is not going to be great for more than maybe 2 years. That's pretty certain. I mean,
yeah, that's definite.
At this level, it's almost a guarantee. I don't know how in the world and whether I should trade for him and what I should give up. I have Jarvis Landry. I have Terrelle Pryor. Landry's 24 years old. He's kind of capped. You kind of know what he is. But he's going to be around for a while and have value at the wide receiver position. Terrelle Pryor, 27 years old, new team, Kirk Cousins. I am facing this dilemma that this listener is talking about right now going, you can take the chance on those veterans. You still have to beat everybody else to make it pay off. Like, I feel like if I traded for Jordy Nelson and I don't win the championship,
right,
I am regretting that trade no matter what.
For sure. And that's I was going to give two pieces of advice here. One is I wouldn't, in that situation, I would not trade for Jordy Nelson right now. I would wait to see how the year is going. How are the players on your team actually coming along? When you're trading for
What's my record like halfway through the year?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you looking like you need that piece to put you over the top this year? Then sure, maybe. But the other thing that I would say is to answer this question of, like, how important is it to have young players? I would say it is 50% important. Because for me, when I look at great dynasty rosters, I need both. I cannot have if I look at a team and it's all vets, I'm scared. And if I look at a team and it's all youth, I'm scared. I really need that mixture, which means you need to be careful if you're trading for Jordy Nelson to not give up give up all youth and then transform your team into, okay, I win or I die. You need to find a way to give up veterans to get the veteran if possible, if you're already 50-50.
And the way I play, I do not mind moving my draft picks for known commodity and I'm not talking about a guy at Jordy Nelson. I'm talking about a guy who's 26, 27.
Crowder.
Sure. And just guys, my rule is 3 to 5. If you have 3 to 5 years of good production left, I want you on my team. And
I had to make that decision trading the number 1 pick in our dynasty league rookie draft for what I viewed as known commodities as opposed to
some people
the beautiful upside.
Some people go pick crazy. They love to have the picks, and I don't blame you. Having the picks is fun, getting new players, the new shiny toy, getting to actually participate
like
in
Treadwell
the rookie draft.
And Doctson.
Yeah, it doesn't always work.
Right.
So I'd rather have a guy on my team who I know is going to produce.
Do you play in any leagues that let you do a redo if you pick the wrong guy?
Mulligan leagues.
They're on
NFL.com.
But you got to pay.
All right, draft order question from Greg in Chicago. Hey, guys, I'm in a 10-person standard redraft league, and every summer we all draw a number from a hat to determine our draft order for the upcoming season.
The old hat draw.
Do you guys have any suggestions for picking or designating draft order? He says he loves the show, makes community work bearable when you have something awesome to listen to. We appreciate that, Greg. Now, Brooks, you had a tidbit of information here for Greg. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. I went back to the FAFQ Part 1 episode, our frequently asked fantasy questions, and right around the 51-minute mark, we'd go over a number of different ways to determine your draft order.
Very nice.
I'm sure they were excellent.
Oh, the
Yeah.
best.
They're
huge.
We always bring them up. We get asked this question a lot. People do lots of different things. They've done March Madness, which just passed, Kentucky Derby.
Combine drills or even joke combine, like eating contests, whatever.
Sports
races.
tournaments amongst each other.
And I would
Arm
say
wrestling.
I would say the most fun thing to do there, arm
Did you guys
wrestling,
see
make
that?
a real fair, even playing field.
Did you guys see the arm wrestling
with
news?
the NFL players?
Yeah, that's why I was
Okay,
just poking
yeah.
the bear.
But what I would do is however you do that, even if it's out of a cup, I would enjoy where when you are like, okay, I won, or I'm in second, or I'm in third, let the first place or the winner pick their spot.
Yes.
And then the next person pick their spot of what's left, and so on and so forth. It just adds one more layer of strategy and fun to the league.
All right, Captain America
Whoa!
in New York.
Wow. This is a big deal, guys.
But it's
Is this Steve?
Kaep.
Oh.
Captain.
So this is not Steve.
It's Colin Kaepernick, Captain America.
All right.
Help me get a grip on the must-haves for a live fantasy draft. Is there a board I need to buy? Is there software, stickers? If some league mates are out-of-towners, can it still work if they join on FaceTime? Guys, let's outline a few live draft tips for Captain America himself.
Sure.
I will say this, for out-of-towners, we have done this many, many times. A Google Hangout is a great way to do that. If you got a laptop or a PC, you can turn towards the crew that is live drafting. Throw them up on Google Hangout. They can participate pretty darn well.
Put that computer up on a TV and have
Sure.
like that person just in the room. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And I would say, draft board, super fun. That's not going to be optimal for you if you are having multiple people who are not actually live in the draft, because then they don't have a very great way to know who has been drafted. We do ours with we have a custom Google spreadsheet that everybody has access to.
We're all in there at the same time during the draft, and the commission's putting in their picks. Helps facilitate draft pick trades and trades during the draft.
And so those are key. Another key thing, get someone to be your announcer.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
That's crucial. Have them dress up. You get the note cards. You walk your pick up. And then
that's so fun.
At least for the first 2 rounds or so.
Yeah, and then, have a celebratory song to intimidate and
Mike finds this to be key.
it's crucial. It's crucial to my draft
What
strategy.
was your song a couple years ago?
All night long.
Well,
Oh, yeah. That's
It was All Night Long was last year.
Every pick. Every time he came to pick, he'd make his pick, and we'd have to listen to All Night Long.
Sunglasses,
oh,
very important.
I believe you refer to them as hate blockers.
Yes, well, you need to block the hate, man. Because when I'm picking, there's a lot of hate. A lot of hate in that room.
agreed.
A lot of bad
Agreed.
feelings.
Ryan Carroll says, ballers. This is coming in off of Twitter. He says, value question here. High risk, high reward. In PPR, would you rather keep Keenan Allen or Rule 86 as your 7th round keeper?
Ooh, 7th round keeper in a PPR. I would
easy.
I would take Keenan.
I'm taking Rule 86.
I love that the easy was thrown out there as you pick different names.
Well, easy for me.
I go Rule 86 as well.
Because I
That's
think
fine.
the upside of both guys, right? Like, let's say you're taking a risky guy, but thankfully the risk is mitigated here because it's a 7th round pick. I'm always willing to be risky there. But the upside, let's say Keenan Allen is great. He is a wide receiver 1. He's a top 10 guy. Well, that's great. He's going to really help my team. But if Jordan Reed hits his ceiling and is a top guy, he is a positional difference maker, and he will be number 1 or number 2 at the position. And I can guarantee that I will be outscoring my opponent in that position unless they have an also ceiling Gronk. So that's why if I'm going upside here, I'm going.
They're both scoring
Rule
0
86.
points. They'll be hurt all year.
It's
no,
a 7th round
I'm
pick.
with Rule 86. I understand the logic behind both. You look at Keenan Allen, maybe you're thinking you've got a keeper for a bunch of years if he pops, and yeah. Alex Smith has a question. Oh, no, he doesn't. His name is Johnny, and his question's about Alex Smith.
It's like Alex Smith.
Very strong.
Wait.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to that question. a second ago,
Sure.
because I do want to throw this in, since this is a legitimate thing that they're looking at. I would rather have them, if it's a hypothetical in a vacuum, I can only have one of those guys. However, you also need
You're
to
saying
take
you'd
into
rather
account.
have Rule 86?
Yes, I would rather have Rule 86 for a 7th, but you also need to take into account your actual draft capabilities. For instance, Keenan Allen will be drafted higher. So there is the potential here that you could keep Keenan Allen and then just draft Jordan Reed, in the third round.
I don't think Keenan Allen is going to be drafted higher, guaranteed.
Then Jordan Reed?
No.
I do.
I do.
I think it depends a lot on the medical situation heading into the season.
Yes.
Yeah,
he could drop quite a bit, and then you could have him
horrific
similar.
news comes out, but on the current track that we're on,
Yeah,
I
agree.
Keenan is currently in the 3rd round, and Jordan Reed is
4th?
currently at the back of the 4th, almost 5th round.
Yeah, that's what makes sense. All right, here's a question for you,
that's good.
Johnny in Wisconsin. Why is Alex Smith so low on your rankings?
Because he's Alex Smith. Next question.
Alex Smith throws 20 touchdowns, and he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, and he doesn't do anything special for
Alex
you. So
Smith.
his risk rating to me is almost 0.
Yeah.
Because I project him to do everything he's always done, always, all the time, which is 20 touchdowns.
Alex Smith had one superpower. I guess 2 if you consider he just doesn't make a ton of mistakes. His superpower was he would run the ball
For 400-plus
and
yards.
he would pad his stats with those delightful quarterback rushing yards, and he took them away from us last year.
Went from 400-plus yards on the ground to about 150 last year.
Now, didn't he get a bunch of rushing touchdowns? I mean, he kind of overcorrected it, but it's still, if that's
Alex
Alex
Smith
Smith
is
we're
the
going to get.
best QB2 in a 2-quarterback league, late value. Like, I love 20 points from Alex Smith in
He's
the
a great
last round.
streamer.
Yes, we like Alex. It's ironic that the question comes in, why do we hate Alex Smith? We've always been big Alex Smith supporters when it comes to streaming because of his rushing production. But
Alex Smith is, when you are running out the door, you're like, oh crap, I didn't do my laundry. I have nothing to wear. I'll just grab this Alex Smith because I know it's good enough.
right.
You guys,
You won't embarrass yourself. What's that, Brooks?
you've compared him to a saltine cracker.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I thought what
It's
you were
just-
going to say is Alex Smith is when you have forgotten to do your laundry and you're running out the door and then it dawns on you, oh, I didn't change my lineup or pick up a quarterback. Just go grab Alex Smith. He's available.
Oh yeah, he's after you've had
thing,
the stomach flu for a few days and you need to ease back into eating something. First thing you do is take an Alex Smith because he's not going to upset your stomach. The saltine cracker.
All right.
Do any other
other
metaphors
analogies?
to explain?
I want this to continue. Just a nonstop Alex Smith analogies.
Alex Smith is super dependable if you need somebody to pick up your kids after school.
He'll get the job done. He'll get the job done.
He won't leave them there.
He's got hit on Angie's
like
list.
Cam Newton would forget your kids.
His
a few
ratings
times.
list or his ratings on Angie's list are just 4.5 stars.
4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, dependable, reliable. Does the front and the backyard.
It's never great, never terrible.
I've never had a green pool once since he has taken over
Yeah. No.
my pool
Definitely.
duties. And he's upstanding, so you don't have to worry about the wife with the pool man. I mean,
No,
Alex
no,
Smith
that's-
is
No. He's legit.
there you
I
go.
mean, like,
all right.
I ran
Who
out
knew?
I ran out of gas once. I knew I could depend on
Oh, yeah,
Alex
give him
Smith.
a call. Give him a call. He'll pick you up. Did you hear the news, by the way, on Alex Smith? He's, quote, bummed about the way the Kansas City Chiefs season ended.
All right. That's a good ending point for the Alex Smith.
There is no more Alex Smith comment than that.
Joe in Texas.
You lost in the playoffs. How was it? Man.
I'm a little upset.
Hey, Alex Smith, you're in the playoffs.
I almost forgot I wrote an article about Alex Smith. He chose vanilla ice cream at Baskin Robbins.
Yes.
At the 31 flavors. All right, Joe in Texas. Mark Ingram or Amari Cooper as my third keeper. A.J. Green and Shady McCoy are already my top 2 keepers, so now I need to pick Mark Ingram or Amari Cooper.
I can't even focus right now.
Standard scoring league, who would you take? I would take one of the 2, that's for sure.
I'm going to need those names again.
They're Mark Ingram and Amari Cooper. Both of these guys, to me, are low-end ones at their position, and I think I would go with the running back here in Mark Ingram. They were both highly inconsistent last year. They had games that just crushed you and games that helped you. They both ended at the very back of their positional one. And so for me, I'm taking the running back.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Honestly, this is another one of those ones you need to look at your league and say, is there like a majority of one position being kept so availability in the early part of the draft is better for running back or wide receiver? Because it's so close where I'm not going to fault you at taking Amari Cooper. To me, I love Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
But in a vacuum, I probably take the running back.
I agree. I probably take Mark Ingram, but to me, if in realms of possibilities in the beginning of April here, Mark Ingram as a top 5 running back, it's possible. It's certainly possible.
Oh, yeah.
Now that the big bad wolf,
We
Tim
know
Hightower
they
is out of town.
throw the ball to the running back.
And Ingram did have he's gotten far more involved in the receiving game. But Amari Cooper, year 3, possibility of him being top 5, I would put that slightly ahead of chances of Mark Ingram being top 5.
All right, I want to remind our listeners that you can get the ultimate draft kit at the absolute best possible price right now. This thing was a monster hit last year.
We need an Alex Smith section.
Of the ultimate draft kit? Sure. Yeah, you work on that. In the meantime, Jason and I are working on this jam-packed draft kit, 100-plus player profile videos. We've got reception perception with Matt Harmon that we're adding to the draft kit exclusively this year. We took everything that was great last year. By the way, we put a survey out to everybody that bought it. It was over 90% said they'd rebuy it again because of how valuable it was for the league. Now we've taken that and we've put reception perception inside of it. We're adding more to the draft kit. This is what we do all year long as we work hard on preparing you for your draft so you can set a strong foundation. So check it out at ultimatedraftkit.com. Like I said, early bird pricing right now. You can get in on it. It's going to release on or before June 1st. So this is an exciting product. We're really pumped about what we're doing this year and appreciate all the feedback from everybody last year. We're going to make it better. So that wraps it up for today's show. Like I said, tight end early ranking episode on Tuesday or on Thursday, as well as some more news. You guys have any parting words or just a farewell?
It's just a farewell. Well, I will see you on Thursday, my
As
friends.
Alex Smith would say, have a good day.
Goodbye.
Have an okay day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.